Well, welcome back to Messed Up the Setup. I'm comedian Michael Halcomb and got handsome Harold in the house with us today. And if you watched part one, you got some of his backstory, his journey into comedy. We talked about politics. We talked about military. We talked about vocation. We talked about theater. We talked about his variety of, wide variety of comedic expressions, from doing music to characters to just raw stand up. Lots of good stuff there. And in this episode, we're going to kick it off because this one's all about jokes.
Everything seems so messed up, but it's just a setup.
I don't know about you, Harold, but I'm obsessed. I'm obsessed with like joke and joke writing. Like I tend to think in jokes, and anytime something happens, it's a really kind of a bad habit, I think, in some regards. Like I'm waiting just for the joke to drop, right? Like something terrible or messed up happens and I'm like thinking of a punch already, right? I mean, a lot of times I got to keep my mouth shut because I will really hurt somebody or get myself in trouble if I don't. But yeah, that's how I tend to operate. And I don't know. I think that comes out of like growing up. Me and my friends were always ragging on each other, dissing each other. That was like a daily thing. And that sort of has got baked into me. You learn to be quick on your feet and defend yourself and come back with something smart or sarcastic. But yeah, anyways, it's good to have you on the show, man. On this one, let's can we hear one of your jokes? And then I want to hear the joke first and then like go back and talk about like where it came from, how it originated and how it got to its current form.
Yeah, this is more of a long form joke. How much time do we have?
Oh, we have as much time as you want.
Oh, okay. Well, so just a little prompt for the audience here. So this joke dabbles into a sensitive subject, specifically with behavioral health. And so it's not my intent to make fun of anyone else's behavioral health issues, but more so to paint the hilarity of mine. And in doing so, also opening up this channel saying, hey, it's okay to normalize talking about said behavioral health issues. With that said, I had a suicide attempt well over a year ago. And basically what I did was I took a 6-shot revolver and I played this thing called Russian roulette. And if you're not familiar with that, Russian roulette's where you take one cartridge, you put it in the dial and you spin it, you put it to your head and you squeeze the trigger. There's a 1 in 6 chance that this gun will go off, right? And so when I decided to kill myself, I put this gun directly into my mouth. And as I sat there with this gun in my mouth, I couldn't help but think, this feels really gay. I took the gun out of my mouth and I didn't want my family to find out that their son killed themselves and, came out of the closet on the same night. It's a lot of information. So I don't want to do that. So I try to do it in the most perceivably straight way. I put it to my head proper. And so what a lot of people don't realize with revolvers specifically, I watch a lot of cowboy films. I grew up watching Westerns and I love 6 shots. But with revolver specifically, when you point a revolver at your head, you can see where the next bullet's going to be. All right. So imagine my predicament. It's a very sad moment, but here I am just with this gun in my head. I'm like, oh no, here we go. This is really dangerous. Like you can really hurt somebody. Can we get a do-over? I want a mulligan. So you spin the dial again and it's a scary moment. I needed a little bit of liquid courage. So I downed half a bottle of Jack Daniels, all by myself. I wasn't really worried about the hangover the next day. It's not like I had plans. And so I take this gun and I'm super drunk now. I have my liquid courage. I'm ready to go. And so I tell myself, all right, listen, if it goes click and it doesn't go off, we're going to stop feeling sorry for ourselves. We're going to go sober. And you know what? We're going to go to church. Okay, screw it. We're going to go back to church. We're going back to church. So I take this gun and I put it to my head. Click. I don't want to go back to church. I double down. Click. I triple down. Click. All right. That's enough. That's it. Put the gun down. I go back to church. I keep my promise. I go to confession and I tell the priest, bless me, Father, for I've sinned. I attempted to kill myself by shooting myself 3 times and it didn't go off. The gun didn't go off. And the priest is in awe. He's horrible. And I say, I'm sorry. What do you think? What should I do? I 10,000 Hail Marys, 100,000 rosaries, whichever. And he goes, no. You don't have time for that. I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, you tried to shoot yourself 3 times and the gun didn't go off. Do you know how lucky you are? You need to go to Vegas. And that's the.
So lots of good punches interspersed throughout there. Obviously, I mean, this is to some degree, this is a true story, right?
Yes.
Rooted in reality. Before we go into the journey of the joke and what made you want to write this joke or whatever. All right. So the title of the podcast is Messed Up to Setups, right? And That just comes from like one of my sort of mottos is if it's messed up, it's material. And obviously, this is super messed up.
Yeah.
Super messed up. Can we talk for just a minute or two or whatever, like about just that? Like, if it's messed up, it's material. And you sort of give that little disclaimer at the start. Like, I'm not making fun of anybody else's experience, but I'm trying to like I want to talk about mine. Like, what is it fun with like comedians perhaps in general, but maybe just life that like this talking about the messed up stuff like is cathartic. Like it has like a healing ability to it.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. It's cathartic in that you have people who are reaching out to get humor out of darker situations. I feel like oftentimes when I watch comedians, I go, this is very autobiographical or it's projection. And so there's a running joke with comedians, even for me, when I do like my crowd checks, I go, all right, or the white people, or the black people, or the Asians, who has behavioral health issues. And they go, oh, there's the comedians. There you go. A lot of us are just trying, a lot of people utilize comedy, specific comedians as therapy. And so that's where you see a lot of the dark humor. The coal miner humor, I got that from being in the military for so long. When you're in when you're in a bad situation or uncomfortable situation, all you can do is just laugh at it or try to find some humor in it. Because the more you in your frustration, you're just going to get more frustrated, and it's not conducive for anyone.
I have a saying that I've been clinging to. So I was doing therapy. I just stopped doing therapy 3-4 months ago. Crazy, like, because it came at one of the most stressful times of my entire life. But I've been doing therapy for weekly, almost for 7.5 years. I meet with the same therapist every week, right? But one of the things that I came back to frequently, and he and I talked about over and over and over, probably got sick of talking about, but it was just the idea that, like, if you can laugh in the face of something, you're bulletproof. I think that's true across the board, dude. Like, if you can laugh in the face of, I don't know, a health problem or a disease or whatever issue that you're dealing with, it sort of like makes you untouchable in a way, dude. It makes you bulletproof. And then, you see comedians like roasting each other all the time. And some of it's like seems so harsh, but you've sort of built up these muscles to be able to handle it. You've made yourself bulletproof, right? Because like, we all know the absurdities of ourselves, what we don't like about ourselves, right? The messed up parts of ourselves. And it takes some real courage to be able to, one, talk about that, but two, laugh about that.
Absolutely.
And so I'm trying to really lean into that these days. Laughter is greater than outrage, especially given the times that we're living in where people are just enraged, conservatives by what liberals are doing, liberals by what conservatives are doing. And, there's just like this constant butting of heads. And I tend to think we should be able to stand on whatever side we want strongly. But at the end of the day, like all of us should be able to just laugh at whatever's happening. And I don't know, man. So this joke you've just told, I mean, it's a story too, is as hilarious as it is dark. Where did the idea of like, I need to write about this, where did that come, or when did that come?
It came, when would be the seed of it was well over a year ago. Shortly after the suicide attempt was real. I did not squeeze the trigger 3 times. That's crazy. I squeezed it twice. Even twice was stupid. We can talk further details, but to answer your question, being a comedian, I go, all right, maybe like a month after, that's when the idea of the joke was around. It was too soon to joke about it. The timing was wild. So I attempted suicide the day I found out I would be separated from the army. The day of the separation board, they slammed the gavel, or the figurative gavel, and they said, you are a disgrace to the Republic and the officer corps. You should be ashamed of your 17 years of service. How dare you? You're not fit for duty. And I was like, wow, okay, cool. Roger that. And I quipped. I was like, hey, you can kick me out now, but I'll see you in Taiwan in 3 years. Like, I made a very irresponsible decision to take my own life. And the dialogue, get sober, go back to church, was real. I told myself, and the main reason why I did it was because at the time I still had life insurance through the military. And I think it's around $400,000 to $500,000, $500,000 for your life insurance. And so I told myself, if the gun goes off, my son is set up for life. He can take that $500,000 put that into a mutual index fund, let it sit till he's 18. By the time he's 18, he's going to have millions to sit on, a leg up for himself in the future that's still unforeseeable for his generation. And that's me being logic brain in a drunk state. What I told myself, even though it's the most selfish thing, I go, all right, but if it does go click, I make it the second note in the joke, but the first thing I said is, you need to stop feeling sorry for yourself. That's it. You get this literal one shot at doing this. And after that, you're gonna stop drinking. You're gonna go back to church, and you're gonna get clean for your son. Because I understand that, like, it's irresponsible. It's selfish. The most important thing is that it's selfish, specifically for my son and my ex-wife, because he doesn't deserve that. And so in the real situation, I did have the revolver. I put one in the chamber, and it wasn't as comedic. It was screaming, and it was at the head. I squeezed it, and then after the first click went off, it made me upset. For whatever reason, it made me upset. I did it again, and after that, I blacked out. Probably, I think I pissed myself. I can't remember, but I woke up the next morning just covered in sweat, completely gross, and no, this is disgusting. My son does not deserve to see his father like this or in a situation like that. I did not get completely sober at the time, but I definitely checked myself into a hospital. I locked up all my guns. I separated the bolts from the weapon systems. I separated the ammo. I gave the keys to a very close friend, and I left it at that. And so the joke itself was fleshed out recently within the past couple of months, well over a year, for me to grow spiritually, emotionally, physically from the incident and allow it to be comfortable enough since time has elapsed. So if my family, I don't know if my family's heard this yet, public's heard it, but if my family does hear it, the blow won't be as severe because it's shown that enough time has passed and that I've grown to the point where I can't joke about it. I hope does that answer the question?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, there's another thing like in the comedy world, and I feel like this is a very sort of flexible thing. It's like, how soon is too soon, right? And so you're talking about that, like for you with this situation and with this joke, you had to get some distance between you and being able to, one, write about it, but two, being able to tell about it. I mean, that's super risky in a lot of ways to get up on stage and talk about this, right? And there's a lot of risks there, like just from, one, humiliating your family potentially, two, like, I don't know, people in the crowd hearing that and saying something to potentially piss you off, or, somebody in the crowd could easily be like, your comedy sucks, you should have done it, or like somebody could say something, heckle, just really like a vulnerable story to tell.
Yeah. And what I've seen historically with this joke, I was afraid to figuratively pull the trigger on this joke because I didn't want to do that. And so the biggest reason for the year span was because, and this also applies in magicians. If the magic trick is too real, it might become scary for the audience member, or they don't see the entertainment in it. They go, oh, well, he made that thing disappear. Isn't that a normal thing? There has to be some kind of like a little bit of dressing up. And so time does that for you. And at the same time, in this specific case, if I were to present this joke the day after I did it, the audience would not feel safe. They go, this guy is unstable. Oh, he has access to firearms. What the heck? I don't feel safe around this person. And then more importantly, other than the safety of the audience, from the date of the separation notice, it took a year to out-process me out of the military. So during that time, I decided to use what precious time I had left of being I don't like using the Army expressions that often, but force multiplier. And this one is a good way to express this. Specifically for behavioral health, they had to enroll me in a substance abuse program because I said, hey, I am an alcoholic. I enrolled in a substance abuse program, and then I volunteered to take the Ask Care Escort program, which is a suicide prevention course. On top of that, I took the instructor course. And in doing so, I was able to access different channels of how to address suicide. Specifically in the unit that I was serving with, we had, oh my God, I had to do at least eight suicide ideation and attempt reports. You have to submit a there's an information report that you have to send up whenever someone attempts suicide or an ideation. And so I had to do that frequently. And so for me to help, from a soldier perspective, you go, all right, here's an issue. How do I prevent that? How do I build off of what we did last time, right? So I tried to do that, and I took the class. And the biggest takeaway from the class, because it's about a week long, is that most of those, and I don't want to call them kids because they're all adults and they're soldiers. They were very young. You had teenagers, you had young adults that were either going through substance abuse, and a lot of them had ideations. And so the issue with that is that most of the time, their leadership, I have to say it, their leadership failed because all they needed was someone to just be like, hey, bud, hey, Jane, hey, Joe, are you good? And
Right.
so I was the only officer in this class of like a dozen junior enlisted. And obviously, junior enlisted, they don't want to talk to officers because officers, you want to separate it. You don't want to fraternize. But this was a neutral zone for the class. I just said, hey, you call me Harry. I'm not in your unit. We're good. And so I got to talk to them individually and I found out so many things. One, that's one of their first jobs in the military as a young adult. They've never had anyone talk to them like a human being. They would treat Joe or Jane as just a private, as a cog in the machine. And granted, there's a time and place for everything, but at the end of the day, if you can't get that gun up because the person's down emotionally, spiritually, that gun is down. You need to fight. Now, from like a civilian perspective, I go, all right, how can I apply this to everybody? Not everyone's a soldier. I wasn't even a great soldier because obviously I got kicked out, but still it can be applicable as human beings. And so I wanted to not only make a joke of it, I wanted to elevate it to the point where I want people to feel comfortable to talk about it. And if they can get to the point where they can joke about it while actively seeking help, then that's good. And so what I've noticed from the audiences is that the ones who get most offended are the ones who are afraid of offending someone who's actually been there. The people who found it to be the most receptive and liked the joke or laughed at the joke were the ones who tried to kill themselves or had a friend who killed themselves or was affected by someone who had suicide. And so the most rewarding part of that joke and why I continue to do it is I've had a handful of people come up to me and say, hey, thanks, man. Like, one, are you good? Which is also super sweet. They say, are you good? Are you okay? Thank you for sharing that joke. I've been there. Maybe not with a gun. I was on the edge of a cliff or I was driving a car or I was at the end of a rope, but I was there. And normalizing it, hearing it that you're okay makes me feel okay. I'm like, all right, good. That's what I need. That's what I need.
Right. Wow. Yeah. I mean, that can be really powerful.
I do appreciate saving it for conversations like this. If I have another conversation with someone saying, okay, dissect this joke, I want to paint this image for the reality of the situation when we do talk about it. It's not a glorious thing. It's not a funny thing. Yeah. It's a disgusting, gross feeling. Waking up in your own piss and sweat and reeking of booze with the worst hangover, pants around your ankles, and it's not pretty.
So yeah, and too, like the priest, I think potentially there's more there. I was also thinking like, man, after you hit that, like you should go to Vegas line, like that could also be a potential place for a good song, some kind of funny ballad or, a moving ballad.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of that segueing into a finale song. I do see if I ever do like a long form 40-minute special or something, that would be the punchline. That'd be the closer. But if I can finagle something, maybe like Always Bet on Red or something, I don't know, or we can rip on that. Now, realistically though, I've yet to go to confession. I did start going back to church. And the reason why I haven't gone to confession yet is because I'm still living in mortal sin from my divorce. And I truly believe in my heart right now, it's like, I can't believe, I know it's a heresy for us Catholics, for myself as a Catholic, but right now my heart wouldn't be in 100% in the confession because I believe that was right for the sake of the future. So until I'm able to morally align myself with what the church believes is to be true, I feel like it'd be wrong of me to go to confession because it wouldn't be valid. I feel like just doing that would be just like faking the funk.
You think it's just hypocritical?
Exactly. Yeah. Which also would be a heresy to do so. Plus, like, I can't take communion I go to confession, and I would feel horrible if I did. Which is, we've talked about this before. I'm not exactly. This sounds very paradoxical because I'm not exactly religious. Oh, we talked about behavioral health before, and so my return to Catholic Church, one, is because I'm a creature of habit. I grew up Catholic, but two, I see it as more of as another form of behavioral health, to be open to another perspective than restrict myself from that. But the priest who I did, coincidentally, the priest that I saw when I got there, he opened up his liturgy with divorce. And I have a lot of guilt for my divorce. And so he opened up with like divorce, mortal sin, one of the most common ones. And I go, oh God, here we go. Fire and brimstone. He baited us. He baited me. And he goes, one of the worst sins. And he goes on to say, my sister's divorced. I guarantee a bunch of you in this mass are divorced. It is not my position to judge you for that. It is my position to elevate you, to say you have sinned, but we need to help you. I can't say that you're going to spend time suffering for eternity because that would be a heresy. I'm not God. I can't make that judgment. but it is my role as a human and as a Christian to build you up. I got to build you up. That's, you know what? Okay, you got me. You got that one, Padre. And so I started going to that church. It's a nice one by Marquis, St. Augustine by the Sea. But
All right. It's interesting. I mean, we've got politics and religion, two things we're not supposed to talk about, but I love that we're talking about them. Absolutely love that we're talking about them. So, I mean, the church part of the joke's pretty funny because like we're totally not expecting we're not expecting the church part to make it in. Remind me, was that a real part of it? Like, crap, I'm gonna have to go back to church. What do you really think?
There's a great expression like on the line or in combat, everyone is religious. So, like when you're in a so everyone's religious. I was fortunate enough not to see combat, but when I had that gun to my head, there was that part where I'm like, oh God, oh man. And so yeah, shortly after that, and even though I say I'm not religious, I still practice the prayers because it is a form of meditation and also arguably a very good form of reflection. That's why I love it when I see people praying before their meals, not when it's performative, but when it's like, no, hey, I am so thankful that we have the resources to have the water, to make that cow, to get the meat, to sit at a table or there's shelter. It's for me like, oh man, yeah, being thankful for stuff and then acknowledging that is super important.
Interesting. So yeah, it sounds like you got you're living in a tension right now, a little bit of tension, right? Trying to navigate that.
I wouldn't really feel it as tension. I feel like I'm in an ocean with just calm seas, and now I have my I don't have a heading. I'm just kind of just cruising through it. And if I see something, I have the ability to just take my vessel towards that direction. And it's a fun journey. I'm enjoying the journey, versus a year ago, lots of tension, a lot of stress factors, divorce, the military, stability, my behavioral health, my drinking. I've been sober for, I think, like 95 days now. And that's definitely helped in the process as well.
I was meaning the religious tension specifically.
Yeah, so the religious tension, yeah, no, absolutely, absolutely, because it's a bizarre juxtaposition. Being American Asian, formerly Catholic, I call it Catholic light. There's so much guilt in Asian culture, and so it's a double-edged sword of being Asian and Catholic at the same time. Because I go, oh man, because you already heard in the earlier conversation, I feel guilty for taking communion. There's a lot of people and here's the thing with the Catholic Church, there's 1,000 different heresies. You have the Catholic canon, which I feel like most Catholics don't know all of them because there's so many. They even have like a bureaucratic system of like, all right, you must use this font times New Roman 12 when you're writing the new, whatever. That's a heresy. Everything's a heresy. But for me, I go, all right, and especially coming from a military background, I go, there's rules, there's regulations. And if I break that rule, I'm a hypocrite or a heretic, whichever way you want to spin it, and it doesn't feel good. Which kind of goes back to like the stage persona, handsome Harold. It's not just saying, hey, I'm good looking. It's like, no, you have to put in the work. You got to put in the work to be good looking or try to be perceivably good looking. And then also your character. Even if you have the name Handsome Harold or Majestic Michael, like if you're not a good person, people are like, oh, what a BS kind of handle, And so I want to be perceived as someone that's relatively good. They go, okay, cool. It's a little egotistical, but I can kind of see it. So yeah, well, definitely you're right. Just to touch on what you said, there is a little bit of friction on tension with the religious part because there's definitely the voice. It's there, but it's not like it's not exactly like a moth to the flame just yet. Cause I feel like I'm so insecure with my own personal issues then, which is paradoxical because, if in your Christian religion, as you know, you're a pastor, like, no, like the light of the Lord, just follow it. It'll bring you there. But I have so much guilt. I'm like, stop, don't listen to the guilt. Listen to your therapist, listen to Jesus. You're fine.
Well, man, I appreciate you share that. I love hearing the joke, and I love when comedians are able to give sort of the backstory, just like musicians when they sort of tell the backstory to a song, like where did that come from? Like same with the joke. I get amped over that, hyped over that. But are you down to try to do some jokes together on the spot?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do some improv.
All right. So I've developed this website. So let me pull it up here. For those of you who are watching, you'll be able to see it. For those of you just listening, go check this out at some point. But if you go to MichaelHalcomb.Live, and you scroll down, there's a little tab. I'm on the desktop version right now. It says social. So if you're on a phone or a tablet, you might need to click a menu or something like that. But under social at the very bottom, you see the Joke Writers Lab, joke writing exercise. If you click that, it's going to open up a new web page. And I've built this webpage just to practice joke writing. And every time I have comedians on the podcast here, we do this together. So you can click any one of these buttons on the screen and we can write jokes from there. So for example, I have this jokes from headlines. If I click that, it should queue up and it shows us this dynamic news prompt generator. Okay. So if I hit the generate prompt button, I got this linked to a bunch of different news sites and it'll give me a headline from today, right? So here's one: Trump's tariffs on steel and aluminum re-up contentious first term policies. Are all probably going to be about him. There's one: Guatemala bus crash kills more than 50 people. And then what we do is we hit this start writing challenge and the timer starts counting down. We have a minute here and we start writing jokes in the box. So when I do this with other comedians, we kind of just alternate and we make up jokes on the spot, take turns, or just throw out an idea. It doesn't have to be a full form joke. It can be just a punch or an idea or something like that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. So we'll try a couple of these, but Guatemala bus. This sounds terrible, but it's messed up. So if it's messed up with material, I'll go first. I'll hit start here. A Guatemala bus crash kills more than 50 people. That's less than the tacos. I don't know, something like that.
Wait, I gotta know, is this a PG live podcast or PG-13? What are we working with here?
But let's try to keep it PG, but
Well, hey, Boeing, take notes. Beating your track record right now.
going to Guatemala bus crash kills more than 50 people. Unfortunately, more than 50 people from Guatemala live. It's terrible.
I guess you could argue Guatemala bus crash kills more than people celebrate in America. Are they coming to America or are they going from America?
So I like this because it's random, unfiltered in a way. Yeah, we're going PG, and it's timed. And I always make this point, like right when comedians we're on timers, like every time you're on stage, pretty much you have the booker expect you to be up there for a certain amount of time and you'll get a light and all that stuff. So it's good that's obviously performing, but writing jokes, it's good to set yourself a timer as well. Let's see if we can get a couple more here. China seems unstoppable. I don't know. All right, here we go. Teenagers say they were assaulted and mocked by nurses at psychiatric unit.
That's what they get for watching anime,
Say that again. They were watching anime.
Yeah.
Teenagers say they were assaulted and mocked by nurses at psychiatric units. Sounds like my high school.
Yeah. That's what they get for wearing My Chemical Romance t-shirts. I used to wear My Chemical Romance t-shirts.
Teenagers said they were assaulted and mocked by nurses at psychiatric units. Wondering if they met a certain family member. Yeah, wondering if they met my uncle there. Switch the name.
I would say this teenager is successful because they actually have access to healthcare. So there you go.
Wow, nice.
And behavioral health. Oh, look at that.
Oh, to be able to assault teenagers again.
Oh, there you go.
Let's see. Let's do another. So we have jokes from cliches, jokes from roasting. I did some of these with Ian Shippen, and he was uncomfortable during this roasting. Let's see if we can.
Okay.
So what I've built here, and I've just coded all these things. I think they're fun. Random image roast generator. So you hit the button here, and it just shows a random picture. This could be AI generated, so it might not even be a real human, right? Or it's just pulling a picture from somewhere on the internet. But the idea is just to roast whoever is in the picture at the moment. So, there we go. Start roasting challenge. We got a blonde lady here, if you're just listening, with huge bangs, blue eyes. Yeah.
I'd say I've only got 2 kidneys. I'm going to hold on to both of them.
At home record Sally.
I'd say Tucker Carlson needs to get a better wig if he's going to be in drag.
Gosh, let's see. That's a really good one, actually. I like that.
I think it's...
Man, I want to do something about bangs here. Boy, I'm blanking. You got anything else here?
Yeah, the bangs are not going to cover up the gap between her eyes.
Oh, my...
I hope these are AI generated because these are horribly mean. These are cruel.
Gosh. Here's another one. Yeah, I mean, again, these might not even be real people. They might just be AI. Yeah, so let's...
Oh, that was a good one. That looked like, if Michael Jackson is black, white, and Hispanic.
If white privilege were making a commercial. I don't know.
This one? Crackhead 90s Madonna, if she never became a pop star, I don't know.
Soccer mom got lost in the project.
She definitely looks like a soccer mom who'd sell you mushrooms in Michigan because I think it's legal there. So
let's see what else. Gwen Stefani with an extra 20.
I feel like she's the responsible mom who brings the Capri Suns to soccer practice, but all of her girlfriends talk about her split ends.
Yeah. Oh, I was gonna gender studies major or gender studies professor or something like that.
She's got the Indiana Jones actuals.
Yeah.
There you go. That's a little
Majoring in archaeology and gender studies.
This LGBT flag belongs in a museum. All right.
So yeah, I got a bunch of other ones here. Let's try just a couple more. We have jokes from cliches. This is an easy one. We'll do a couple here, and now we'll do one of the punchline or finish the setup. So this is just taking a cliche, like most of us know these, like this is the tail of the tape, and seeing if we can make a joke about it. So the tail of the tape. I don't know.
What is the tail of the... I've never heard of this cliche. What is that?
The tail of the tape, I think it's like a movie, like they got film on you and there's a story behind it.
Got it. All right. Gotcha. Well, that's a sticky situation.
Yeah. He's got more money than he knows what to do with. You probably heard that one, right?
Yeah.
He's got more money than he knows what to do with.
He's never heard of cocaine and hookers? What?
Said the priest after he took up the offering.
There you go. Yeah. There's
got more money than he knows what to do with. Said no husband paying alimony ever.
Yeah, that's the dream. Says happily married couple.
He's got more money than he knows what to do with. Said Hunter Biden.
Yeah. Is he rich?
Well, he's got his daddy's money or USAID money, either one.
I feel like if you have the reputation of being a crackhead, you would have a little bit more, funny, if you're doing crack, you gotta bump up those drugs. You gotta get better drugs.
Oh, time's up. Let's go. Let's switch. So this is interesting. I like this one. So finish the setup. All right. And what I did here, dude, is I took a bunch of jokes, like already like some comedians' jokes, and I cut out the punchline and I kept the setup. So if I hit generate setup, it's going to give me, and so this one's after months of practice, I can finally touch my toes. Oh. And then we finish it. So this was somebody's actual joke. Just the punchline is missing. And now we're coming up with our own punchline. So you can see a bunch of them here. Bingo was created on this day in 1929, so on and so forth, right? Russia, we'll do this one. Russia is making plans to send 4 monkeys to Mars. Russia's making plans to send 4 monkeys to Mars. Also, Russia is making plans to send 4 missiles to Hawaii.
That sounds like a legit actual strategy as opposed to a joke. Russia is making plans to send 4 monkeys to Mars. The former administration will be missed.
That's a very good one, dude. Nice. Russia's making plans to send 4 monkeys to Mars. Elon is reportedly jealous that they're beating him there. I don't know. Not really.
Russia is making plans to send 4 monkeys to Mars. Time traveler Harambe saves...
Very good. Time traveler Harambe. Very good. So this is fun, and I like doing this. I think it's cool. You did really good, man. Well done. Yeah, very well done. A lot of people get a little nervous, doing this in real time. So well done for you. But man, dude, it's been fun chatting with you. I appreciate you carving out some time today to share your story, share your jokes, and yeah, just hang out, man. I appreciate it. Thank you.
But thank you. If anyone liked this, I have my headline featured this Wednesday at Ann O'Brien's. So myself and Ian Shippen, his character Leo from My P.O. will be hosting.
Nice. Well, right on. I will try to get to that. Man, Tuesdays and Wednesdays are hard for me, just given my life circumstances. My wife works evenings at the first half of the week at the hospital, and I'm home with the kids. Tuesdays, Wednesdays are tough for me. But yeah, I'll see if I can make it out. But man, keep up the good work, and best to you and your comedy aspirations, and everything that lies ahead with your son, and everything else. So yeah, again, everybody check out, if you're on, check out at handsome.herald, and you can see the link tree there to get to YouTube and, whatever else. You're on Spotify too, yeah?
That's correct. Handsome Herald at Spotify, yeah.
Yeah, so you can get music there as well. And all right, man, we are going to wrap it up. We're going to stop there. That's it for this episode of Messed Up the Setups. Keep tuning in for more great content. Oh, check out the the little joke writing class I've got on Udemy. If you're up for that, if you're interested in joke writing and kind of what we've been doing here, that's fun. But yeah, and we're keep checking out the podcast, man. So we're going to stop there and say we hope that helped.
It's all messed up. Yeah, everything's messed up. We're going from this mess up to the next setup. Everything seems so messed up, but it's just our setup.